Hello makers, welcome to Always Yarn First, a podcast about knitting, crochet, and all the yarny goodness in between. I'm Lindsay, and I'm coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Always Yarn First. Welcome. Today is June 25th. This is episode 14. Thanks for joining me. I know that I've had quite a few new subscribers recently, so thank you so much. I'm happy you're here, and I hope you enjoy your time here. Before we get into the episode, I always like to start off with telling you about my current make-alongs. They both are year-long. I first of all have the Chevron Year Itch. It is a make-along that I am co-hosting with my friend Lori from ArkansasYarnCo, and we are making chevron blankets. That's the only requirements. You can make any pattern, knit, crochet, has to be chevron, has to be a blanket. You can post on Instagram with the hashtag #TheChevronYearItch, or you can post it on ArkansasYarnCo's Ravelry group there for a chance to win prizes. And I will be pulling a couple prizes this week. So if you have a blanket you've been working on, post them on Instagram because I have 2 prizes ready to go. Also, I host the Slash My Stash Mal. This is to encourage you to love what's in your stash. So the only requirement is that you use all stash yarn for your project, and by stash you have to have it before this calendar year. It can be any project, again, knit or crochet, and that is on Instagram. Again, the hashtag is /MyStash2022MAL. Or if you don't have Instagram, you can also post your projects on Ravelry on my page, my group page under Always Yarn First. And again, just go to my Ravelry page I have down below. So for that prize, I've been giving a prize each month of a yarn from my stash that I'm giving away. So the June prize, as I showed before, is this from Must Stash Yarns. This is a 75/25 merino nylon fingering weight, 440 yards, and this colorway is called Be Mine. And if you've never had mustache yarn before, they're fantastic for socks, and they're actually separated in 50-gram skeins for you, so they're perfect match socks. So you have another week to post to try to win this, either in Ravelry or Instagram. I pull a random number with those two combined. So, all right, so let's get into it. If you're new here, I name all my podcasts a song title. I'm a big music lover, and I love all kinds of genres of music, so I find one that's appropriate for the week. And so this week's episode is called Roll With It, and it's a song by Steve Winwood, so I have linked below that song if you want to listen to it. And I'll link everything else below I talk about. So what am I wearing today? This is an oldie. I believe this is the first garment I ever knit. This is the Slushies top by We Are Knitters. I got it in a kit. It's in their Pima cotton in the colorway Light Salmon. And this is knit flat, and then you just seam it up. So it was kind of the perfect first garment for me, as I was used to knitting flat objects. So this was still doing that and just learning to seam. So, and it's nice and cool for summer. Okay, so we're going to get into the episode. We're going to go over what I've been making, then acquisitions, and then I have a top 3 this week, which will be non-essential knitting tools. And then I will talk about my podcast of the week that I've picked. Also, one more note, sorry. Last episode I announced the winner of the Cascade Ultra Pima sweater quantity I was giving away, which was Carol Fields. I still have not heard from Carol. So Carol, if you're watching this, please get in touch with me. I have my email address below, which is AlwaysYarnFirst@gmail.com. If I don't hear from Carol by the end of June, the 1st of July, I will go and I will choose a new winner because I don't want that yarn sitting. I want someone to be able to knit or crochet a summer cotton garment with it. So, all right, so let's get into it. I have no finished objects this week, unfortunately, but I've been mostly focusing on the 3 projects I mentioned last week. So the first one is a new cast on. I have it in my Tanny Casey bag. And again, below I'm going to have the name of each bag I have, as well as the project, yarn, colorways, all that good stuff if you're curious. All right, this is pretty much a hot mess right now, but this is my test knit for Joji Locatelli. If I hold it like this, you can kind of get that it's a sweater. This is the Lace and Fade Boxy. I don't know if it'll keep that name or not. So basically, if you've ever knit a Joji sweater, she does one side, then she does the other side, and then she joins in the middle for that. And then you flip it around, pick up stitches, do the one side, pick up stitches the other side. So I am joined on the other side. I have to get through this lace pattern and then I think do a couple rows before I'm able to join in the round. This is not a hard pattern. It's needed a little bit more brain space than I've been able to give recently because of different things going on. But I do love it and I am excited to have it. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with the test knit part of it, but let me close in a little bit so you can see the yarn. Stretch it out a bit. So this Speckle yarn is Junkyarn, Boss Sock, and Astronaut Barbie. And the mohair I'm using for the lace is Cake Wool Company Cream in the Smooch colorway. So this is the first time I've used Junkyarn. Well, it's the first time I've used Cake Wool too, but this Junkyarn is so nice to work with. I just love how it feels. And I'm loving the Speckle. She has a whole Barbie collection, and recently Junkyarn also came out with, remember Barbie high heel shoes? If you were like me and had Barbies, I lost those shoes constantly. They were everywhere. And she came out with those Barbie shoes as stitch markers. They are adorable. So this is my Lace and Fade. Not very far, but I am loving it. And I definitely will wear it because if you saw my favorite sweaters I've made, you know I love a boxy sweater. So technically, I don't know if you call this a cast on, but I did do something new also. We're going to throw it in this section with cast ons. So I showed this last podcast that I had picked up this at Unraveled in Paragould, Arkansas. And so as you can see, I've been spinning. As you can see, I am not very good at it. So please be kind in the comments. I have watched so many videos on how to start this. I get the concept. The thing I'm having the hardest time with is when you're spinning to thin this out with just like these 2 fingers. I'm not getting it. Like I feel like I need to see someone in person show me how to do it because as you can see, this is super thick. But I don't care. I got this little bit of fiber to play with, and so that's what I'm doing. And I was really enjoying it. Even though I'm not good at it, I was super enjoying doing something new. My husband came out of his office one day when I was working on this, and I just had like the biggest smile on my face. And he's like, "You're having fun." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm totally not doing good, but I'm having fun doing it." So to be continued. Look at the top of this. Isn't that pretty? So the Arkansas Yarn Crawl is coming up. I've mentioned it many times. And I'm planning on going back through Unraveled. And so I might pick up, she just has like little bits of fiber, which I think is good for me to work on. They're not expensive. so I don't feel like pressured that I'm using this really, you know, fancy fiber when I'm learning and I'm not super happy with the yarn I'm coming out with. But it's okay if I'm using just a little bit of this fiber that wasn't expensive and I'm just playing with it. So I'm thinking I might pick up some more when I'm there. We'll see. So back to knitting. So I'll run through what I've been working on. You guys have seen this. It's not super exciting, but again, this is my purse project. So it's always the thing I'm working on. This is, you can see I didn't even do that much where the duck is right there. So I've done what, like an inch? This is my shirt shawl. The pattern's by ArkansasYarnCo. The yarn is Universal Bamboo Pop in High Tide. And I have a fun story about this though. We'll see if she's watching. Last week, I didn't go to knit night. We have knit night once a month hosted by my friend Maddie. And I didn't go to knit night. I was kind of feeling stressed and everything. So we went out to dinner as a family. And, you know, of course, us knitters, we always bring our knitting. And this is the one I always have with me. Nothing super fancy. And I was knitting on this and the waitress came up to the table. And, you know, I very much have people come up and say, oh, what are you working on? You know, and which is cool. But you know, when you meet a knitter and they're like ecstatic, like they're excited because they know what you're talking about. They speak your language. So our waitress came up to the table and she was ecstatic that I had knitting. And she's like, what are you working on? Oh, I knit too. And I've been looking for a yarn shop and I've been looking for yarn peeps. And I'm like, oh, I got you. I got you covered. So it was super fun. She showed me a picture of what she was working on. I told her all about, you know, my LYS, Arkansas Yarn Co. I talked about the yarn crawl and our other podcasting friends. And so I invited her the next day to come to Arkansas Yarn Co. because I was going to be there with my friend Maddie and the crew. And she ended up coming over and sitting there and knitting with us for a while. And it was so much fun. So it kind of worked out that I didn't go to knit night that night because we basically added a new yarny friend to our mix. So that was super fun. So if you're watching this, Victoria, hello. So yeah, so that is this shawl. I'm going to move the duck up. So it always pays to have knitting with you. In fact, I had another occurrence during the week when I was at picking my daughter up from sewing class. Someone approached me as I was knitting in the car and knocked on my window and asked what I was working on. And I had postcards for the Arkansas Yarn Crawl in my purse, and I gave her some so she could pass out because she was really excited to hear about it. So that was really cool. All right. I have made the tiniest progress. I picked back up my Journey sock. I have finished one of these already. The second one's just kind of been lingering. I basically just had the heel flap before, so I've picked up the stitches and I'm going back and forth right now because my goal was to get this pair of socks done by the end of the month. It could happen, but I don't know. I'm still working on my chevron, my boxy chevrons, and my blanket to get done. But I did at least pick it up, and this is in my Mountain State Stitches bag, gifted to me by Maddie. And that yarn, I forgot to say, the yarn is La Bien Aimee BFL Tough Sock in the colorway Aimee's Sweater. So, all right, so here's one that I have been focusing on. Is my boxy chevrons. So, let me show you where I was. The stitch marker here. So I've made some good progress. And last week I had mentioned, you know, the yarn crawl. I will be there the first day of the yarn crawl, July 15th. So really need to have this sweater done. What that meant for me is being the length I like on my body, which is anywhere from 13 to 15 inches. My goal was by the end of this month to have at least like 7 inches done on the body. And I'm almost there. I measured it this morning and I'm at 6 inches. And my friend Jess from ArkansasYarnCo, she has already finished hers and she did hers by the pattern. It has a cool little detail at the bottom and there's short rows before that. And she had told me that with the short rows and with the bottom edging, that's about 4.5 inches. So that's a good thing for me to keep in mind, like where I need to stop before I'm going to have another 4.5 inches of those. So I feel pretty good about this. This has kind of been my morning project has been the test knit, where I have more brain space in the morning so I can do the lace work and things like that. And then usually during the day, this is my just knit in the round. And then in the evening, I have been working on my Chevron throw because that's kind of like my TV knitting. So yeah, I'm really happy how this is looking. And I feel like I'm making pretty good progress. And now, you know, when I went to the yarn shop last week, Lori's been working on hers and she's way ahead of me, but you know, she wants to race everybody. So it's on Lori. I'm putting my hat in the race now. I'm feeling like pretty confident. I'm getting pretty far. So we'll see. All right. So last podcast, I had showed you that I barely had cast on a summer shirt that's on my make mine list, the Oats sweater. And so I have actually, the other day especially, like I was kind of tired of my 3 basic ones I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I need something else. I definitely cannot cast on anything else right now. I need to work on something, so I need to switch it up in my brain a little bit. So again, I'm at the stage where it doesn't look like much, but I am just knitting in the round, still adding on my stitches. This is another boxy type sweater. So I get to a certain stitch and then I'm basically will do the patterning, the lace patterning for most of the shirt. So right now I finished the short rows and now I'm knitting with my still adding on the stitches here at the shoulders. So that is that. And this is in Knit Picks Gloss Savvy. That's my Boxy Chevrons. I forgot to tell you that. My Boxy Chevrons was Knit Picks Muse. The blue was Savvy colored, and the speckle was called Delight Speckle. This is Knit Picks Gloss Fingering Weight in the color Harvest. So this is going really good. I'm kind of like backtracking here. This is in one of my Woolly Bean bags. And I forgot to say, this got moved into a different bag. This is in my Oh Wow Amsterdam bag. And I got this on the Lobby and Aimee website, which I have linked below. So, I know I always love people's bags, so I'm trying to be better about saying what bags I have things in. All right, I've also made progress a little bit on I'm calling it my Advent Granny. I have also switched the bag that this is in. This is in my new bag I showed last time from Knick Knack Knits. My Grumpy Bear see-through bag. And first I'll show the colors. So this is an Advent Granny I'm using. I started with the Advents from Pineapple Yarn from last year's Advent calendar. My scraps that I used the VVAC tee for most of it, and then I used the scraps to start this blanket. And so I decided to get Pineapple Yarn Mystery Mini Skeins, which you get 3 mini skeins per month. and to finish out the blanket. So these were, I don't think I had these last time. I don't remember if I did, but she doesn't name them, but these are the 3 colors I got in the June box. So I started with the yellow. So let me move this. So again, you will see in the middle where I started is a gradient advent from Pineapple Yarns, and I think she still has some up for this year. If you're looking for an advent and you want a gradient where you're going to make a project where you want the colors to go really nicely next to each other, I highly suggest her advent calendar. So that's the middle. So it's just going to be basically a lap blanket. So I'm trying to keep up with the month as the best I can as I go, because once the lap blanket is large enough, I'll just cancel my subscription. I like minis, but I don't like collecting a ton of them at a time because I never know what to do with them. Especially because these are all over with colors, but I wanted to keep this a Pineapple Yarns blanket, so it made sense to do that. So I have a good bit of the yellow in there. Here's actually my marker where I was last time. So yeah, I've made some progress on that. Okay, I just have one more whip. Okay, the last whip is in this giant Chevron bag. This is also from Knick Knack Knits. Lori had these made specially for our Chevron blanket make-along. I've shown it before, but here's the label in here. There is a little zipper pocket and a little notions pouch because you don't want to go digging in this giant bag for your notions. So, let me fold it over. So, this is for our Chevron Here Itch blanket. Myself and Lori are both using her Sock Yarn Society subscription boxes, starting with her first one, which was in January. So I'm not going to go over every colorway, but you can see the colors, and then I use graphite and wedding cake colors in between each month. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I finally finished 4. So last night I got past the border between, and I have the first row of June's box color. Let me get that yarn out of here. Here it is. So this was in the June box. I'm running a little more behind than I would prefer. Every month, Lori and I do videos with an unboxing of the subscription box, so you can see what all goodies come in it. And then we show off our Chevron blankets. So I have tried to make it a goal. At first, I was trying to make it a goal to catch up, where I, have the border done and I'm ready to cast on the new yarn as soon as I get it. But I see Lori next week to do the unboxing, and I'm just starting on the new color. But if I can't be caught up completely, I like to at least get some of the last color so that when I show it off in that video, you can see what it looks like knit up. So you can't really tell yet because there's quite a bit of white in there. So it's kind of blending with the wedding cake that I have right before it. So I'm hoping to get a few more rows done before I film with Lori. So definitely stay tuned to that video. It'll be on my channel probably in a week, exactly a week. So, but this is it, and I love it. So again, we hope that you join us for our make-along, and I will be pulling 2 names from Instagram this next week. So if you're watching this and you've been making a blanket, post your pictures and use the hashtag. All right, so that is all my progress. I know I'm making progress, but I ever feel like when you're just doing a few key projects that you're like, I feel like it's really boring to, like, nobody's going to want to see that because it's like the same projects. I'm at that stage where I'm just like in the thick of it, and it's like, oh yes, I've knit a couple more inches, but I refuse to cast anything else on. I am a big believer in many whips because I get bored. But the problem with that is when you get bored and you touch 20 different projects, you don't get any projects done. So I cannot cast anything on until I finish something. So I'm really trying to focus mainly on my Arkansas Yarn Crawl sweater is the big thing. All right, so that is all I've worked on. So let's get into the fun part, the acquisitions, because I got some really good stuff. All right, I always keep my acquisitions in a bag next to me. So I'm gonna start reverse order here. So yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I received a box in the mail that I had ordered. I had seen this box, Kelly, who is Le Mouton Rouge Knittery in Illinois, and she is doing like a retro toy themed boxes for the summertime. I don't know if May was her first one, and this was the May box technically. I saw this box come up and I wanted it so bad, but I kind of was holding back because I had just spent money on yarn, but I'm like, oh, I really want that box. And the other day I kind of stress bought. Some family things have been going on. It's just been stressful. Everything is okay, but you know how it is, stress shopping. So I went online and I'm like, I wonder if she still has any of those boxes yet. And she did. So I snagged one and I'm so happy I did. And then after I posted pictures on my Instagram, Lori texted me and said she had to go get one. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen these pictures. So I got a Popples yarn box. Do you guys remember the Popples? I grew up an 80s kid, so I was big on 80s cartoons. The Popples, Strawberry Shortcake, Care Bears, Rainbow Bright, all those. So good. I love the Popples. And I don't ever really see Popples items. You know, you still see Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake. But I was so intrigued by this, so I ordered the box. So, came with 2 skeins of yarn, called Popples, of course, the colorway. So the first one is in this. Kelly dyes this yarn, and so it's called Red Sheep, which is her Superwash sock, 75-25 Superwash merino nylon. 463 yards for 100 grams. And these are totally my colors. I love blue and green, and you'll see that again in a minute. And so this is the mohair lace, the same colorway. 72% mohair, 28% silk, 459 yards. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then it came with this shiny little bag. It is see-through, but it's kind of like metallic. And let me just, sorry for the noise, I'm going to get out all the goodies. So I'm going to show you the Popples related stuff first. Okay, it came with a couple of stickers. If you don't know who the Popples are, here you go. There's these little things that like roll up into a ball. I have my friend Elisa had one for the longest time still from her childhood, and like she had rolled it up in a ball so many times it was like nearly falling apart, like you could barely touch it, I remember. And then it came with 4 stitch markers. Look at those guys. They're so cute. So, yes, I am thrilled about it. I like too on the back they're flat because they can lay next to your knitting. I mean, it's cool when they're rounded out, but I like that it will lay flat next to the knitting. So they're so cute. And then it's like 80s nostalgia candy. I got Charms, Blow Pops, of course Blue Raspberry, a Ring Pop, Pop Rocks, and a Lip Smacker. Smells like grape Fanta. I mean, it is like pure grape. Whew. It is so good. It is so, so good. I'm super happy I got this. Currently, Kelly has, as of yesterday, she still had a couple of these boxes. So if you're watching this and you really like this, I would go check immediately. She also is currently doing Smurfs is this month. And I know because we were chatting online that next month is Care Bears. So FYI, July is going to be Care Bear box. And you know that that one's going to be super popular. So that was a super, super fun package. All right. And then I mentioned I went to ArkansasYarnCo last week. All right. So first of all, before I went, I had ordered this ahead of time, but I just didn't have her ship it because I knew I was coming. So I just picked it up to not pay for shipping. I didn't need it right away. This is one of the yarns. Anna and Jessica are dyeing their own yarn. And they're actually going to get their own labels. They're calling their yarns Darker Side of Pretty. So they pick the colors, maybe ones that Lori wouldn't necessarily do. But this was one of the colors they did, and I loved it. They still have this color in stock. I know the Beaches color sold out, and they also have We Have Morals is in stock, but I love this one. So this is in a signature plush base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards. And this colorway is called Just We Two. So, again, told you I like blue and green. So, yeah. And then, if you saw my last episode, you knew I finished the Rocket Tea, which I have been gushing about. I love that tea. I want to make many, many more of them. But again, you heard that I can't cast anything on right now. But, you know, when you sit at a yarn shop all day long and your eyes are looking around and you get ideas in your head, I was like, oh, you know, as hot-blooded as I am, I wonder if Bamboo Pop would make a good rocket tea. So I looked at these two together and I love it. So I only got one skein of each. One, because I did not use a ton of yarn for that t-shirt. I used a skein of fingering and a partial skein of lace weight. So these are sock weight, fingering weight. So this is the Bamboo Pop sock. It is 55% bamboo, 37% cotton, 8% PBT. In each, let's see, how much is this? 492 yards per ball. So I'm going to see how it goes. If I need more, I'll just get it. I think this one is like called Strawberry. It's kind of cut off there. I don't know if it's just Strawberry. And this one, I actually have this in the thicker weight one too. Canal. So I just was eyeing this, and what I do when I'm at the yarn store, if I'm sitting there knitting all day, I kind of just sit it on the table in front of me so I can like look at it as I'm knitting and be like, do I really like that? And I'm like, yes. So, and these are super affordable too. These are $12 per ball. So again, I don't know if I'm going to have to get another ball. We'll see, and I'll let you know. But right now, this is $24. So that's totally reasonable for a summer t-shirt. All right, the last thing I got, it actually was a gift to me. I have mentioned previously, I had shown my friend Maddie, who is half of We Share Needles. Her mom has recently started making project bags. She is an excellent sewist and quilter, and Maddie and her mom are the ones that host my local knit group once a month. And Kelly is super, super sweet. I had previously bought one of her bags as soon as I saw she was making them. I had bought a quilted bag, but she had so kindly gifted me with a bag, and this is it. It's so cute. She has wonderful handles on it that you can hold it and knit. Perfect, just enough space to go around your wrist like this. And the thing with her bags too is that they really are reversible. So this one is just gray on the inside. But if you wanted to, you could. There's also another thing here. You could put some stitch markers or clips in here. They're great. They are beautiful. They are well made. So she, I know, is working on getting a shop. She does not have one yet. If you are interested in her bags, she has an Instagram and Facebook that she is posting different fabrics and different bags available. So you can follow her on there, and I will link that below where you can follow her. And right now she's just selling her bags off there, even sometimes offering you to choose what fabrics you want, which is crazy. They're so good. And so go check her out, please, because like I told her, I'm just glad I got a couple of bags now before she gets super popular, because she won't be able to keep up with demand. So she is so, so sweet. So go follow Kelly. All right, and that is all my acquisitions. So next we're going to go into top 3. So if you're just here for the knitting and the acquisitions, we're all done. We're just going to go over our top 3 this week and the podcast of the week. So top 3 this week, I am talking about non-essential knitting tools. So when you think about you want to learn to knit, what do you really need? You need needles and you need yarn. That's basically, I mean, of course, you're going to need some kind of scissors to cut or to stitch in your ends. You could use a bag, but I mean, you could, if you just sit at home, you could just put it on your table. You can put it in a plastic bag. You don't need those things. So I'm going to go over what my favorite non-essential knitting tools, but are either, for me, I like to have them because they're fun, or I find them extremely useful, even though you don't require them if you don't want to spend the money. So the first one kind of is a basic one. I kind of lumped a couple things together here because I put progress keepers, stitch markers, and bags together. And the reason I have those all together is because in some patterns, it will call for stitch markers. Like if you're doing cables or where you're increasing, it'll say put a stitch marker. But you could get pretty basic stitch markers or basic the light bulb stitch things. You can get very basic ones and use those. You don't need fancy ones at all. Same with bags. Like I said, if you just knit at home, it just might be on a side table or in a basket, or people use their grocery bags. You don't need, fun bags. If you don't have the money for it, I mean, the important thing is the knitting, right? But they kind of enhance the joy of working on your projects. So, you have the fun bags. Then, I'm going to show. So, of course, you guys know, if you've been here a while, you know I'm obsessed with Lori's stitch markers, which are these little Arkansas ones. She makes different colors. For the Sock Yarn Society, she's been having these things with Now that one has lemons in it from the last month's box. This one has umbrellas in it. She makes all these different colors, and I'm a mad collector of all of them because I love them so much. And then you have just stitch markers, which again, all you really need is the rings to mark your stitches. But how much more fun is it when, you have something you love on it? This is one I had specially made for me from Fangirl Fibers. I love the music group BTS, and I had asked if she could make a set of BTS stitch markers. She didn't know anything about it at the time. Researched it, put all their names on it, different things, did an amazing job. So this is just one of them. But how much more fun is it when beginning of row, you see this? I have one in my Boxy Chevrons, I think is also Fangirl Fibers, Ryan Gosling's face. So, and then, I shown that I have stitch markers or progress keepers. Every time I do this podcast, I put one in so I know how much progress I've done in those 2 weeks till I next podcast. So that's always fun too. Again, unnecessary, but just makes it a little more fun to do. And I'm going to put in a picture of where I keep most of my progress keepers at. All right, the other thing that is non-essential knitting tool that I find extremely useful is, again, I'm going to put some things together as a notebook / Ravelry / blogging. And what I mean by this is a place to write down what your projects are. I use Ravelry. I know that it's not accessible for everyone to use. What I use Ravelry for is when I start a project, I put in the needle sizes I use. I put in my yarn, especially if it's from my stash, which is already on Ravelry. I put in all that information. I put in any notes of any changes I made, because then, for instance, the Love Note sweater, I've made 3 of those. I can go in and look at my notes on those and be like, oh, well, I used this size needle and I made these alterations. So I don't have to remember what I did to get that fit that I love on that sweater. So all those extensive notes is really good to have. Many people will use a journal and just write down that information, their knitting needle size, their yarn they used, what their gauge was, things like that, in a notebook or a blog. All those are really helpful, especially if you find a pattern that you love and you want to make again, because if it's a year before you make that again, you have that information down, because I know my memory isn't what it used to be, and I like having all that down for me. So the last tool I put down, it's non-essential but so useful, and I've talked about these before, and many podcasts have talked about these, is these little cords. I have 2 different ones, the Knitting Barber and Pearl Strings. I got the Knitting Barber ones at ArkansasYarnCo, and I got the Pearl Strings at Le Mouton Rouge Knittery. And basically, this is what they are. Like I said, many podcasters have talked about them. If you don't know what they are, they're just a tube. So, let me see. I don't have any needles right next to me. I have a little crochet hook, I'll example. So, the couple ways I use this thing is when I'm making a sweater and I'm doing top down and I'm at the sleeve separation, and it'll say put yarn on waist, put stitches on waist yarn. Instead, I'll take one of these cords and put it on here. What that does, you can tie it and it's secure. But when you go to start knitting and working those stitches, all you have to do is stick you don't even have to move it off onto your needle. Just stick your knitting needle in that and start knitting right from the cord. You don't have to do anything, which is awesome. Another way you use this is if you want to try on your sweater. And again, you don't have to utilize the whole cord. So what I do is, if I want to try on my sweater to see how it's fitting, I put each one of these in a needle and I just move it out a little bit. I don't move it all to the cord, although there is a super long cord, you could do that. I just move it enough where I can comfortably try on the sweater, and then I just move the stitches back on my needles. So you don't have to move it all to waste yarn, try it on, move it all back to your stitches on your knitting needles. It is so convenient. And I don't remember, I know each of these come with multiple in each pack. I think they come with 3 each. Oh, this one says on here. This one comes with 1 60-inch and 2 30-inch cords, the Knitting Barber. And I don't know, I know there's multiple in this one too. I like them both. I will say I prefer the pearl strings only because I personally find it smoother to get on and off the cable. But they both work well. I have not had any problems with them coming off my needle as I'm using it. They're both very secure. So that is my top 3 non-essential knitting tools. I'd love to hear below if there's something that is non-essential but you find so useful in your knitting. Please comment below and share with all of us. All right, the last thing I have is I like to highlight a podcast of the week. I love watching podcasts, and so I like to highlight one each time. And so this week's podcast I'd like to mention is called Well Loved Knits. It's hosted by Bethany. She is an American, but she lives in Belgium. She is married, and she recently announced she is pregnant with her first child. So currently she's making a lot of baby knits, but she is super sweet, and she actually mostly does what she calls a knit and chat. Instead of a traditional podcast format, she will work on something and maybe has taken questions on Instagram that week about a certain topic, and we'll just kind of talk about it or read what people have said and then talk about her point of view on it. So it's just a very casual, relaxed setting. So please go check her out. And that's it for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Again, thank you for the new subscribers. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd appreciate it. Next week, I will be posting my video for the Sock Yarn Society unboxing for the July box. So stay tuned for that. And also, if you haven't already, I posted last week a special video from an alpaca farm in Iowa that I just adore. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, please go back and watch that. That's called Irish Meadows Alpaca Farm. And I had a great interview there, and we got to see all the alpacas out. It was a gorgeous day. So please check that out. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.